What is going on, everybody? Welcome to another brand new installment of For the Love of Wrestling. I, of course, am your host, the Renegade of Wrestling, JJ Williams. Happy Wednesday, everybody. Good to see everybody here today. Got a lot in store today. Hopefully, this will be the first of many Wednesdays like this. Now that NXT is on the CW, unfortunately, I can't watch it live when it does its thing. I have to wait until the next day. Gives me an opportunity to watch that, gives me an opportunity to watch NWA, gives me, of course, an opportunity to watch Dynamite. Throw all those things into one long review on Wednesdays. Let's get down to it. We start off today with NWA coverage, and I've wanted to get back into the NWA reviews for some time now. Just been too busy to do it until the move to the CW for NXT. We're currently at week 3 out of 5 for the NWA 76th anniversary show. And since we're coming in so late, once the entire 76th anniversary is aired, Simply Reliable Studios will do a watch along of it, cover the entire show for you guys. This episode opens up with Pat Kenny, better known as Simon Diamond, and Jazz in the ring at the 2300 Arena, the old ECW arena. Pat says it's good to be back in the city of brotherly love, the city of the Eagles, and the city of the Extreme. He hits his old Simon Diamond pose and then introduces Jazz. The crowd chants, "Thank you, Jazz," and she talks about being introduced as the female fighting phenom in that building 26 years ago. She talks about the women in the Burke Invitational Gauntlet and how they're ready to show up and show out. The show then officially kicks off with the number one contendership match to see who will get the next shot at the Junior Heavyweight Championship. We've got Jack Cartwheel versus Alex Misery. Joe Galley, Danny Deals, and Billy Corrigan are all on commentary for this show. The match was some solid, fast-paced action between both men. Cartwheel is very agile, definitely one to watch in the future. He gets the win with a top rope aerial move that he calls not a cartwheel. Cartwheels are a huge part of his repertoire, obviously, because of his name, hence the humor in the finisher. We then go backstage. Mae Valentine, their correspondent, is with the NWA Women's Champion, Kenzie Page. She says she's been the champion for over a year and has forever to go. Says the only person she's even slightly worried about is her sister, Kylie Page, who's in the Burke Invitational Gauntlet. We now get Rolando with Mae Valentine, and he's very excited about NWA 76. Main event for this episode is the Burke Invitational Gauntlet. The way this goes is there's 13 women, 2 start, and about every minute another woman enters. Elimination occurs via pinfall, submission, or thrown over the top rope. First entrant was Ruthie J, and she'll be taking on entrant number 2, which is Kylie Page, to start the match. Lily Pescadita comes out as entrant number 3, making her NWA debut, followed by Big Mama at number 4. She's a 16-year veteran in professional wrestling. Big Mama eliminates Ruthie J before Hollywood Haley J enters at number 5, making her NWA debut. Kylie Page, Lily Pescadita, and Hollywood Haley J all triple team Big Mama and eliminate her over the top rope. This brings out La Rosa Negra at number 6, followed by Natalia Markova at number 7. La Princesa Tiffany Nieves comes in at number 8, and Lily Pescadita gets eliminated by Natalia Markova over the top rope. Misty Marks comes out at number 9. She was trained by Jazz, followed by Kayla Rossi at number 10. Adriana Mosley, a Philly native, makes her NW debut, entering at number 11. This brings out Kelly Madden at number 12. At this point, Misty Marks and Kelly Madden both get eliminated by Kayla Rossi. Kayla Rossi then gets pinned by Kylie Page for another elimination. Final entrant is Santana Garrett. Hollywood Haley J gets eliminated by Tiffany Nieves via submission. Adriana Mosley goes over the top rope and is eliminated by Santana Garrett. La Rosa Negra, same thing, eliminated over the top rope by Santana Garrett, who then gets eliminated herself by Kylie Page. This leaves us with Nieves, Kylie Page, and Natalia Markova. Tiffany Nieves brings a chair into the ring in the home of hardcore, while Natalia Markova eliminates Kylie Page, making it one-on-one. La Princesa cracks Markova with the chair, gets a 2 count. Nieves then gets the ECW standard, a Singapore cane, and begins to take it to Markova, hitting her with it and even choking her with it. Markova then finds her own Singapore cane, gives Tiffany Nieves some receipts. After a couple of close falls, La Princesa goes back outside, grabs a table direct from Deadlyville. Markova ends up hitting an avalanche Uranagi onto La Princesa, putting her through the table, picking up the win. She will be the next contender to Kenzie Page and the Burke, the NWA Women's World Championship. That covers NWA. We now go to NXT. As NXT came on the air, we had Vic Joseph and Booker T on the entrance ramp with the Halloween Havoc Wheel of Screams, as I dubbed it. We then go to a highlight package from last week, and when we return, Tony D'Angelo is in the ring. Tony D makes a toast to Obafemi, and he says he used Femi's greatest strength against him, Femi's own pride. Tony D says he played Oba, making him think that the Don had been broken, and as he raises his glass to Obafemi, the ruler of NXT's music hits. Femi says he will regain his North American Championship at Halloween Havoc and will once again be the ruler of NXT. Obafemi then goes to the Wheel of Screams and spins it, and it lands on a table, ladders, and scares match. So I'm assuming this will basically be like a TLC match for Halloween Havoc between these two. Looking forward to that. Backstage with Oro Mensah regarding his gentleman's duel match that he's going to have with Lexis Keane. Lexis Keane comes in and mentions how Mensah only won their last match because he cheated. Keane refused to. Keane says, "Let the best man win," and then walks off. First match is Stephanie Vaquer versus Ren Sinclair, and this was a fantastic debut match for Stephanie Vaquer. I like that Ren Sinclair was her debut opponent, someone who, unlike a lot of the current women, has actually traveled the independent circuit, wrestling for AEW on Dark and Dark Elevation, holding championships for Premier Pro Wrestling, River City Wrestling, Mission Pro Wrestling, and even the National Wrestling Alliance. Vaquer, though, gets the win in her debut, but both women looked incredibly strong. Post-match, Cora Jade and Roxanne Perez stormed the ring in a 2-on-1 attack against Stephanie. This brings out Julia for the save. Julia then issues a challenge, Cora and Roxanne versus Vaquer and Julia at Halloween Havoc. We then go backstage and we find Trick Williams and Kehlani Jordan. Both of them are discussing their successes from the previous week. Trick discusses the number one contendership match that's going to occur on the show between Wesley, Javon Evans, and Ethan Page, while Kehlani says that she's willing to take on whoever Ava deems worthy. While all this is going on, Fatal Influence stop in the doorway behind them and observe the conversation. After Trick and Kehlani go their separate ways, JC says that they need to go and speak to Ava so that one or more of them can get a shot at the Women's North American title. Backstage, Ashanti the Adonis tries to flirt with Carmen Petrovich and Briley Reese. Sean Spears and Brooke Jensen come in and interrupt things, And then things get tense before Mr. Stone interjects and tells all three men to go to Ava's office. This brings us to the gentleman's duel match between Lexis King and Oro Mensah. Very interesting match with some of the rules here. Solid in-ring action. Lexis King was able to get the victory here. We then go backstage with Cedric Alexander and Javon Evans. Axiom and Nathan Frazier interrupt the proceedings. Wes Lee then comes in and tensions begin to rise between the young OG and Wes Lee, setting up more for the match later on in the evening. Lola Vice has a match against Nikita Lyons. Walter Cruz had a heart attack in Connecticut. Lola made Nikita look really good in her return. Jada Parker came out, hit Lola with her hypnotic hip attack, which allowed Nikita to get the victory. I like this because the outside interference allowed Lola to stay strong and not look weak in defeat, which was a good call considering the push Lola's been getting lately. Backstage, Ava makes the tag match at Halloween Havoc official. Fatal Influence then storm into Ava's office, wanting a North American title opportunity. And Ava says that if they want it, then two of them have to face Julia and Stephanie Vaquer next week in tag team action. I'm sure this is done to give Stephanie and Julia a chance to team together, get some chemistry. Riley Osborne versus Ridge Holland. Solid match that saw Ridge get the victory over Riley Osborne. However, the story was more so the post-match. As Ridge was continuing to destroy Osborne, Andre Chase made his return and the save to a huge pop. Chase, you represent. We then go backstage with Tatum Paxley, and she's talking about how Wendy Chu used her, but her interview time is being interrupted by Jada Parker and Out the Mud, OTM. This brings us to Ashanti the Adonis versus Brooks Jensen. Short match. Carmen Petrovic came out with the crushed rose petals, and this proved to be a distraction to Ashanti, allowing Jensen to pick up the victory here. We then had a vignette for Delta, who's supposed to be making her debut soon. I'm sure they'll probably hold off till Halloween Havoc, though. Lexis King is hanging out with the No Quarter Catch crew, and when he walks off, he shows some love to Tony D. We then turn to Luca Crucifino, who wants a match with Oba next week so he can prove the power of the family. Number one contenders match main event, Javon Evans versus Wesley versus Ethan Page. Fantastic main event that sees All Ego pick up the victory in order to get his rematch against Trick. After the match, Page calls out Trick and they spin the wheel at Halloween Havoc. It will be a Devil's Playground match. Solid show for NXT. This now will bring us to AEW Dynamite. And if I'm being 100% honest, it's the show I look forward to the least each week. However, coming off of the heels of Wrestle Dream and everything that transpired there, I was intrigued to see how things develop. Show begins interestingly enough with Jon Moxley cutting a promo from the back of a pickup, saying that he hates what AEW has become, that he will do what has to be done, and if you want to come with us, you can come with us, and if you don't, then get out of the way. Mox tells everybody that you work for me now. Adam Cole comes out to the ring to a nice pop, asks who's ready for story time with Adam Cole, baby, and he begins to discuss the worst person he's ever met, MJF. Cole says that sometimes you have to fight evil with evil. Cole says that anyone that trusts a guy like MJF is stupid. He calls MJF fake. Cole says everyone in the locker room is agreeing with him and calls the locker room the best in the world. Cole says that everybody hates MJF and calls out MJF for a match. MJF's music hits, but he doesn't come out. We go to a live feed from MJF at home, and Max says there's no such thing as trust in this business. Says Cole made it so he can never trust anyone again, that Cole created a void within him. He says Cole will die with unfulfilled vengeance because he's not going to give him a match against him. Cole says that Max can run, but he can't hide, and when he finds him, he'll make him wish that they had never met. We then go to video of Chris Jericho and Renee Paquette after Wrestle Dream. Jericho talks about starring in the #1 movie in the country, Terrifier 3, Fozzy being on tour, and how Briscoe cheated to retain the Ring of Honor championship. We then cut live to the arena, and Renee is with Mark Briscoe, who says that Jericho will pay for letting his brother's name come out of his mouth again. Says that next week Jericho will get his rematch in a ladders war match. FTR then comes in, and Briscoe hypes them up for their tag team match against Big Bill and Brian Keith, which brings us to that match, FTR versus the Redwood Big Bill and the Bad Apple Brian Keith. Solid but predictable match here. FTR get the W. The Outrunners come out post-match to celebrate with FTR, and again, I said it Saturday, the Outrunners need to be the next champions. We then get a promo of the Acclaimed with Daddy Ass and Renee Paquette. MVP and Shelton Benjamin approach the Acclaimed and say that when they're ready to be serious, give him a call. This brings us to the worst match of the night. Sadly, Mercedes Moné versus Queen Aminata. And that sucks because I love Aminata. Aminata gets buried by Mercedes. It's what happens when you let someone have their own creative control. Then to make things worse, we get the dumb fucks backstage with Private Party. Private Party wants a rematch, and the dipshit EVPs say, well, that doesn't work for us, brothers. They say they'll never get a title shot at the tag titles. The dumb fucks leave, and Stokely Hathaway approaches Private Party. We saw, of course, Stokely sitting in the crowd at Wrestle Dream. When we come back from the commercial, we find Okada, Jack Perry, and the dumb fucks once again on TV, and they proceed to taunt Kenny Omega since it's his birthday. They present a cake that says Happy Birthday, Kenny, and then dump a bunch of intestines onto it, making fun of his diverticulitis. Perry says, get better or die, I don't care. And Okada says, happy birthday, bitch. This brings us to the conglomeration, Orange Cassidy, Kyle O'Reilly, and Rocky Romero versus the dumb fucks and Kazuchika Okada. It was a decent match for a minute. I got to give the Devils their due until Mox and the BCC stormed the ring, attack the conglomeration, but leave the Elite alone. The entire locker room comes out there, tries to fight off the BCC and everything. You got Top Flight Action Andretti out there. You got Garcia out there. We then go backstage, and Daniel Garcia and Private Party approach the EVPs. They say they built this place 5 years ago. Why are you just going to stand around and let this happen? And the executive vice pussies of AEW just want no part of it. Garcia then tells Private Party that he will have their back if they'll have his. This brings us to Leo Rush versus Shelton Benjamin. Great match here. Match of the night as far as I'm concerned. Sadly, I didn't care because the Elite BCC segment sucked the entire life out of the rest of the show. Post-match, MVP gets on the mic, wants to challenge Swerve to have a match with Shelton Benjamin. That can be intriguing. We then go backstage, and Swerve accepts the challenge from Shelton, and we find out in 2 weeks at Fright Night Dynamite that match will occur in Cleveland, Ohio. Shout out to the Simple Man Noah Foster who will be there. We then have Tony Schiavone in the ring, and he introduces Don Callis for a press conference. This was pretty much just Don Callis being Don Callis, but the best thing that happened in this segment was him saying that there's no reliable journalists in professional wrestling, totally digging at Meltzer, Sapp, Alvarez, all of them. We then get Renee with Mariah May, who trash talks the entire women's locker room. Anna Jay comes in and gets in Mariah's face. We'll now have an eliminator match between Anna Jay and Mariah May at Battle of the Belts that don't change hands. We go to Ricochet, who calls out Konosuke Takeshita and issues a challenge for Collision. We go backstage, and the Dark Order and Top Flight are getting their asses handed to them by the BCC, further proving their dominance. Main event was Switchblade Jay White versus Christian Cage. Again, decent match, but I just didn't care after the Elite BCC stuff. This was horrible show formatting by Tony Khan. Hangman Adam Page interfered, hit the Logan Lariat on Jay White, which allows Christian Cage to get the victory. Okay. So NWA this week, B+. NXT this week, B-. AEW this week, D-. The only thing that saved me from giving this show an F completely were the Lio Rush, Shelton Benjamin, Jay White, Christian Cage matches. But like I said, absolutely horrible formatting by Tony Khan this week. The conglomeration versus the Dumb Fucks and Kazuchika Okada match should have been the main event. As much as I hate putting the Jackson brothers in the main event, if you're going to end it with the furthering of the storyline of the takeover, that's the last image that you want. You don't want to do that in between the first and second hour, because now nobody gives a shit about anything else you're presenting. Horrible, horrible, horrible formatting. And whoever let Tony Khan get away with that shit needs to get fired. D- for AEW this week. Good to see you in the chat room, Daniel. Good to see the people that have been popping in and out, even though that's the only comment we have tonight. What did you guys think of the wrestling action? NWA Power, NXT Dynamite. Let me know. Leave your thoughts in the comments below. I do look forward to reading your guys' thoughts and everything. I should be able to be here tomorrow to cover TNA Impact. I will not be here Friday to cover SmackDown. So if for whatever reason I can't do Impact tomorrow, I will put a tweet out, let everybody know. But look for me tomorrow around the same time, 11 Eastern, 8 Pacific, somewhere in that range, with my thoughts on this week's TNA Impact. Thank you again to everybody that showed up to check out the show tonight. I greatly appreciate you. And until next time, thank you for coming and joining me on For the Love of Wrestling. I'll catch you guys later.